Suicidal bombings, shootings, attacks made by lone individuals or groups. That's what comes to mind when we hear the word terrorism, right?
How about attacks or intimidation by the military or politicians to gain political or geographical powers? Who are terrorists? Does Islam commend them or condemn them? For decades, we were given various answers to these questions by different media outlets, movies, news, you name it. Many speculations and verdicts were shared, but how many of these are facts and how many are fiction? The correct way to answer this question is to look at what the authentic statistics and texts say. The Oxford Dictionary defines terrorism as the use of violent action to achieve political aims or to force a government to act. As we look at the news today, the majority of civilian deaths are caused by political bodies such as the US military. NGOs regularly publish much higher civilian death tolls in areas where the US military is active around the world. The NGO Airwards, which lists civilian victims of airstrikes, said that the most conservative estimates show that 102 civilians were killed in US operations around the world, 5 times higher than the official Pentagon figures. Furthermore, the statistics of the US State Department on terrorism show there is more terrorist operation in Latin America than in the Middle East. The problem is that there is exaggerated news coverage about Muslim terrorists and nothing about Latin or Catholic terrorism. One might wonder, why are Muslims in the limelight? Research at the University of Alabama reports that terrorist attacks covered by Muslim extremists receive 357% more US press coverage than those committed by domestic groups. Most recently, many news sources were heavily criticized for their Christchurch attacks news coverage of the shooter in comparison to the Muslim attacker in a church at Nice, France. If the political parties and media play around with words and facts, then what does Islam say about terrorism? Let's have a look at what the Quran says about it. Islam advocates for justice, even for those who do not practice it. The Quran commands, and do not let the hatred of a people prevent you from being just. Be just, that is nearer to righteousness. Islam teaches its followers to maintain and promote peace throughout the world. The Quran condemns murder. It says, "Whoever kills a soul unless for a soul, or corruption in the land, it is as if he had slain mankind entirely. And whoever saves one, it is as if he have saved mankind entirely." Prophet Muhammad ﷺ warned that he himself will be the opponent on the day of judgment against those who wrong non-Muslims, harm them, or force them to work beyond their capacity, and that he will plead for such non-Muslims. In a famous speech, Abu Bakr al-Siddiq, the first caliph, may Allah be pleased with him, had rules for his military commander on the battlefield, which include: number 1, do not commit treachery or deviate from the right path. Number 2, you must not mutilate dead bodies. Number 3, do not kill a woman, a child, or an aged man. Number 4, do not cut down fruitful trees. Do not destroy inhabited areas. Number 5, do not slaughter any of the enemy's sheep, cow, or camel except for food. Number 6, do not burn date palms nor flood them. Number 7, you are likely to pass by people who have devoted their lives to monastic services. Leave them alone. If these were the strict guidelines for the war, Then what about terrorism? Clearly, this puts Islam furthest from harming a life. So why do organizations like ISIS exist? All extremist groups such as ISIS claim that they act out in the name of religion, just as the Army of God, Jewish Defense League, or the Ku Klux Klan. Interestingly, all of these have a familiar pattern of textual misrepresentation, no matter the belief they present. David Shariat Madari asserts that the history of Islam argues against the religion being the cause of Islamic terrorism, on the grounds that if Islam was the history of jihadi terrorism, it should go back to the 7th century CE. Instead, it is a late 20th and early 21st century phenomena, implying that the cause of Islamic terrorism is more political than religious. This proves that Islam hasn't supported such organizations. Rather, it was the political wars that created and supported them. Nevertheless, all religions have small portion of misguided followers. Surely, it is unfair to judge an entire religion based on the behavior of a small group. Islam ensures absolute peace in both this world and the hereafter. Thus, a Muslim is the one who is God-fearing, righteous, and lives a balanced life. Renowned Islamic scholars, Islamic organizations, and Muslims have consistently condemned all terrorist attacks. So now it's upon us to look into the sources of Islam, which is Quran and the authentic narrations, to debunk the misinterpretation and the propaganda campaigns by the media and the extremists. It is only when we examine and analyze information in its original sources that we can judge things objectively and fairly. As Martin Luther King says, nothing in all the world is more dangerous than sincere ignorance and studious stupidity. So, the next time we learn something regarding Islam, let's pause and analyze its authentic texts to make an informed decision based on Islam's stance about the issue. If you find this video interesting, let us know in the comments below what you would like debunked next.